Hello everybody, friendly neighborhood Vsauce here. So I actually invented light. Would you like to see it and understand more about it? Well, come have a look at it. In a nutshell, light is made out of photons. These elementary particles can be split, only created or destroyed. It is the smallest quantity of energy that could be transported. Only light has a wave particle function and can also act like an elementary particle, being both at the same time, although more on that later. And when we mean the word light, we actually mean visible light, which is a part of the electromagnetic spectrum. And so, let's take a brief look at it. Gamma rays have the smallest wavelengths because they are the highest energy photons, but they are just 10 picometers in length. In the middle, we can find visible light, which is about 700 nanometers, about the size of bacteria. And on the other side of the spectrum, we find low frequency wavelengths, which span to about 100 kilometers in diameter, but some can actually span to a baffling 10,000 kilometers in diameter, much bigger than the diameter of the Earth. But from a physics standpoint, all of these waves are the same because they all have the wave function duality and they all travel at the speed of light, or c. Let's talk about the history of the research of light. As far as we know, ancient Greeks started asking more or less scientific questions about light. Some philosophers thought that our eyes gather information by sending out invisible probes that collect information and display it on our eyes as we see it. This was very inaccurate and unexplainable. When you really wanted to see something in a dark room, you just couldn't do that. Or it was very strange to see shadows that change shapes and aren't actually touchable. It took 1,000 years for this theory to rest in peace, when Arab philosopher Al-Qasim imagined that we just collect those probes or light particles when they hit our eyes, making it easy to explain when it gets dark sometimes, which was very difficult for Greece to explain. Scientists in the modern era would argue a couple of hundred years about the topic: is light a particle or a wave? Isaac Newton believed that light is made out of tiny particles which he called corpuscles. It explains some properties of light, like refraction. Later, long when Newton died, scientists made tests with light that clearly showed that it couldn't be a particle. Imagine two beams of light that cross paths. They just don't interact with each other. If they would have, then some of those particles would collide and bounce off of each other, making a sort of rain. Also, light makes interference patterns, which are patterns when two waves occupy the same space. Unfortunately, only waves make interference patterns. Particles don't. But light is something different because in the 20th century, scientists did experiments where they saw that light sometimes behaves like a particle. For example, when you shine a beam of light straightly directly to a metal, it actually transfers its energy in a form of heat. In physics, the term light may refer more broadly to electromagnetic radiation of any wavelength, whether visible or not. In In this sense, gamma rays, X-rays, and more are also light. The primary properties of light are intensity, propagation direction, frequency or wavelength, spectrum, and polarization. Its speed in vacuum is exactly 299,792,458 meters per second. Fun fact, bugs and animals use light to their benefit, to their advantage. And when you see a bug flying directly to a lamp or an artificial light source, it is actually not attracting them, but they just point their backs at it, and so they're using it to know where they're flying to see the direction of their trajectory. But the problem is that lamp is still and it's not far away, so they're just spinning around it. And as always, let the light lead your way to success.